at the beginning of your career. If you are sub seven figures and you want to get to that seven figures, you're going to have to sacrifice some things and you're going to have to work incredibly hard. It's after you've got yourself in a position where you understand what's going to take you to that next level, where you excel, where there's opportunity to build team, where there's opportunity to drop things that aren't working and optimize your processes and optimize your business, where you can get more pointed with targeting, pricing, those sorts of things. And I don't think that there is an easy way for you to go from 0 to 1 million. I think you must focus and you must work very, very hard.
Welcome to the Relaunch Podcast. I'm your host, Hilary DeCesare. And today, I got to say, there are people that you meet in life and you just connect, and you know there's going to be so much power between the two of you, so much energy, off the charts excitement around the person I have on today, because I had the privilege over a year ago to meet her, and I've had the privilege to work with her. She has tapped into what I like to call my own genius of where I really ultimately light up. And isn't that what we all really want in our lives, when we're not just personally being able to light ourselves up, but professionally, and moving those two together? And so today I am joined by Kathryn Porritt, the world's leading personal brand expert. Kathryn helps actual elite entrepreneurs, celebrities, and influencers build iconic empires. And how does she do this? By commanding luxury pricing and creating lasting legacies. And in this episode, we're going to dive deeper into Kathryn's biggest relaunch that actually impacted her and shaped her and created who and what she is doing today. She's going to talk about her strategies that have helped elevate her brand, other people's brands, and you're going to be able to walk away and really understand what it takes to dominate your niche. So let's dive in. Kathryn, so
Hilary,
it's so good to have you.
oh, we have been planning this forever, and it's one of those things I've been so looking forward to. You have interview skills like no one else that I've ever met, and so I'm a little, I have to say, a little scared about what you're going to ask me today.
Well,
But
this
I'm
is the
willing to
best
go
part.
there. I'm willing to
This
go
is
there.
this is the part where, you know what, we are going to break through all of those, the walls that sometimes we put up, and
Yeah.
share with the listeners out there what they're ultimately wanting to know, and that is who you really are. What
Yeah.
what what drives you? What creates success? So we're going to go all into that, but first and foremost, I really want to talk about that significant relaunch that set you to where you are right now. It was like,
Mm.
the dominoes that fell.
Yeah.
So let's go and take me back
Mhm.
to the most significant relaunch in your career so far to date.
Yeah. There's so many of them. I've been thinking about this quite a lot, but I think there's one particular one that really set me on this path. And that was, so I was running what was a reasonably large Australian business that I had founded and created in my 20s. That in and of itself is a conversation, because my husband's a diplomat. I was running it from overseas and coming back to Australia and all the things. But I remember we were about 9.5 years in. My kids had grown up in that business. We had all the success that you could think, from the outside looking in. It was remarkable. I just had a book come out and I was on TV and did all the things. And I remember standing in the warehouse and I just had this overwhelming feeling of, this isn't right anymore. This isn't actually what I want. Um, and that was a terrifying moment of true, like real honesty, because I think up until that point, Hilary, and I know that you and a lot of the people that are listening to this will understand this, as a highly competitive, ambitious person, I'd fallen into the trap of winning for the sake of winning
Hmm.
and not really thinking through, is this actually what I want? Not really investigating that question. So when I think about your very pointed question about what was that moment that changed everything, it was that realization um, that this wasn't right for me anymore. Now, I was lucky enough to go through an exit with that company, and I was able to divest and then go on to try another couple of things. But it was really that moment that I went, okay, this isn't quite right. And then I spent the next couple of years working out what wasn't quite right about it and allowing myself the time and the focus to really think about what I did in fact want to do from there. And that's when this business came to be. And it is the complete and utter opposite of what I was doing last time,
Okay, so
very intentionally,
before
very
you go
intentionally.
before you go into that,
Yes.
interesting that you said winning for the
Hmm.
sake of winning, right?
100%.
We get, I on the prize,
Mhm.
and we just go
Yep.
steamrolling ahead. And
Yep.
what was it
Mm.
that really wasn't in alignment with what you knew? And I call it, highest self, the best version of you,
Mm.
3HQ, the headquarters of you, where you have your head and your heart working in
Yeah.
unison. What
Mm.
was it about what you were doing before that felt off?
I think there's a number of different things. When I really look at who I am, I had this, I often say to people who work with me, I'm the most competitive non-athlete that you'll ever meet. And so that's really innate in me. I have such a competitive streak. I like to win, which makes me a great business partner and all of those things. But I'd sacrificed so many personal things on the way to winning that prize. And I think it comes down to, did I really need to prove myself to anyone anymore? And what was I sacrificing in order to continue to prove it to people that really fantastic, lovely to have them in my world, but they didn't matter ultimately. The people whose opinions really did matter were my husband, my parents, my children, who'd grown up in a business and seen their mum, work herself to the bone. So ultimately, it came down to a realization that I had nothing left to prove. I'd proven myself to myself and the people that mattered most to me. And now I had the very privileged, I was in that privileged position to then make a decision about, okay, I realize I am that ambitious person who's probably going to want to win for the rest of her life. Where do I put that focus so that it elevates my family and it allows me to focus on things like my health and my friendships and my family, and as well as my wealth and as well as my career.
It's interesting. I right now have an opportunity to talk to a tremendous amount of seven-figure business women.
Hmm. Hmm.
And so many of the conversations are around, it's not what I have, it's what I had to give up to get here.
Absolutely. 100%.
And when you think about your success, and I love that you're competitive, but not in that athletic sense,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
What about you do you think it has that? If you were to talk to someone who is a millionaire in the making, wants so desperately to crack into that next level, what would you say you have to really be doing to build what you have innately in yourself? That, the competitive, but how do you explain what you have inside to others?
I'm probably going to say the thing that's not quite popular at the moment. And I know there's a lot of there's a lot of word on the street about you can manifest millions and
Mm.
just think it to be it and all of those sorts of things. And I would love to think that life is that simple. And I know that there's science behind all of that. I have some clients that are exceptional in this area. However, my strong belief is that at the beginning of your career, if you are sub seven figures and you want to get to that seven figures, you're going to have to sacrifice some things and you're going to have to work incredibly hard. It's after you've got to, that's an arbitrary number, but let's call it the seven figures, that you've got yourself in a position where you understand what's going to take you to that next level, where you excel, where there's opportunity to build team, where there's opportunity to drop things that aren't working and optimize your processes and optimize your business, where you can get more pointed with targeting, pricing, those sorts of things. And I don't think that there is an easy way for you to go from 0 to 1 million. I think you must focus and you must work very, very hard. I saw a post the other day. Someone had asked a similar question about becoming a billionaire. If I just work, can I become a billionaire? Um, and Elon Musk's first wife actually answered the thread. This has been going around social media. It was a wonderful response, and it was effectively, "I'm sorry, but that's not enough. You know, you will need to behave in a way that is almost inhuman to be able to achieve that level of success." So I suppose in answering your question in the unpopular way, but what I know to be true is that you are going to have to work very, very hard and you're going to have your eye on the prize to get to that million.
Mm.
After that, I think there's a really interesting question for you to ask, which is the one that I've asked myself and I ask my clients. And that is, what level of success do you want after
Mm.
that? Because not everyone should be aiming for $100 million. Not everyone should be a billionaire. Not everyone should even be aiming for $10 million. Sometimes, a well-structured business at 1 million that's very profitable and has some ease and flow to it that you can continually optimize and that brings you joy, that can be a really great outcome. So I
Mm.
think it's at that moment you will have to work to get to a level of success. And then it's at that level, really think about, what do you really want from here? And I think we've got more choice upon us than any other time in history. It's so easy to create businesses. It's so easy to
Mm.
find market anywhere in the world. It's relatively easy to be creative about what it is that you want to put your time and effort into and create that first level of success. It's the second tier that I would say be very, very contemplative about what it is that you want from there.
It's interesting what you're saying because it's bringing up so many clients that I've worked with that did not have the clarity. They had
Mm,
a number in mind that they wanted to
yeah.
reach, and there's no real reason that they picked the number. It was just, this is the number. This is when I think I've made it. And then you know what happens? You get to something close to the number, or, maybe you've blown that number, sky high, and you still don't have the content. It's the divine discontent, my grandmother used to call it.
Mm,
And so when I look at somebody like you that was willing to say, hey, it's not fulfilling anymore.
yeah.
And you chose to start to unravel. And as you said, you put the pieces in place, not so much unravel. You probably built
Mm,
this thing up to
mm,
sell and then you made it happen. And
mm,
then you took some time, and I want to know, from when you stop, there's always that moment of, I call it an identity crisis. You go from being
mm. Oh,
so
yeah.
in it to, I'm not in it. In fact, I'm no longer a part of it at all. And nobody is really interested in me anymore because I'm not in that role. How did you handle that? And what were your biggest takeaways from that period of time?
Oh, Hilary, we've never talked about this, but you so know me so well. Um, I did unravel. I really did. You're so right. And it is what I see with so many of my clients as well. Most of the people that I work with have been through an exit or some, they've got to the pinnacle of success and then they're
Mhm,
looking for impact and legacy. So it's
mhm,
the same journey. Those first couple of years after you exit a business or retire from being an athlete or whatever it might be, um, there's a big unraveling that happens because your identity has been so caught up in getting you from A to Z, and you've made it and you got everything that you wished for. And then you walk away from it and it's like, who are you? Particularly when you are one of those people who have built up a lot of success, you've got a team around you, people are asked, you're relied upon, and suddenly you're not. So I did go through a crisis of identity for a couple of years. I went and actually took some jobs. I've worked at a friend's for about a year as his CMO, and helped him build to sell as well. And that was really, really fun. And then I went on to do another role similarly to that, and then realized I really did not want to work for someone else. As much as I loved those
mm.
experiences, that was the last thing that I wanted, was to be, coming into an office and having to work these hours and, and having to work to a KPI. And I don't, that's not me. I did not want to do that. So I knew through action and activity that absolutely it wasn't going to be, I'm going to take on a CEO role and help build someone else's dream. I knew that I needed to focus on being an entrepreneur and giving myself more time, but building this in a way that was completely the antithesis of what I built before. So it wasn't unraveling, it was incremental. There was not some moment where I went, oh, this is it, revelation, I have the answer. I really had to do some work on myself. And I wish I knew people like you, Hilary, at that time, to have really had deeper, richer conversations around what I was going through to help make those decisions. I went through it by myself, which was silly, and I would not recommend that to anyone, because it's very difficult to diagnose yourself and ask yourself those questions. So,
That's so interesting. It's difficult to diagnose yourself. Isn't that the
yes,
truth?
yeah,
But there's something that you said that I want to go back because I think it
okay,
is so important for people
yeah,
to really understand. From the outside, we all can look like one thing, and in the
oh
inside,
yeah,
we're just, we're crumbling. We're not that
mm,
strong person. We're just
yeah,
trying to get by, right? We're
mm,
just trying to make it. And
mm,
I remember I left Oracle and I started another company with a gal, White Space Inc. And I did it for about 4 or 5 years, and then I went through a divorce. I had melanoma, and I felt lost, completely lost. I felt like, had I made a mistake? Should I never have left that, that
mm,
corporate role? Or I was at the pinnacle when I left. And so it was
yeah.
like, kind of like, what? When you're looking back on the feeling of you that you had and the lessons that those couple years before you kind of finally got back on the right path, what were the
Mm.
biggest lessons that you really did take away from that you're leveraging right now?
I think I had to learn to give myself space to do other things other than work. That was
That's hard
honest,
for women like us, huh?
really hard,
'Cause
and I
that's all
still
we
struggle
did.
with it. Yeah, I still struggle with that quite a bit. I still feel like, not when I'm going out and spending time with my kids. They're at a much easier age now. They're 17 and 19. So hanging out with them and going to their soccer games and things it's super fun. But I really had to learn to like myself, who I am. I didn't have hobbies. I didn't, thank goodness my girlfriends are very, very forgiving, and opened their arms back up to me and went, "Where have you been for 10 years?" But I really had to learn all of those skills again. My socializing was at work, at networking events, with partners, etc. It just was, yeah, I did nothing but work. And so I think that's probably the best way to describe it. I had to learn who I was, what I wanted to be when I wasn't sitting in front of a computer or at a desk, how I wanted to spend my time. It's quite discombobulating. Picking up a
Yeah.
book for pleasure.
Like myself, you said. I had to
Yeah.
like myself.
Yeah.
I have something right now that we have available for people that's called Relaunch Date Yourself.
Nice. Yeah.
And if you think about it, liking yourself, sometimes people say you got to love yourself, love yourself, and for a while it's
Mm.
like I didn't like myself. How am I going to jump and cross the chasm to loving?
Yeah.
I got to start small. I got to
Yeah.
just, oh, small baby steps. How did you do that? How did you start that process of liking yourself again?
It's just a momentum thing, right? I think you can't just sit there. Well, I'm certainly not that person who can sit there and just analyze myself in quiet. I'm an action person. And I always recommend that to my kids, to my clients, that if to make a decision, just get into action. It's in the activity that the answer will appear. Um, so it was really just throwing myself out there, getting out there and seeing my girlfriends again and dating my husband. We
Hmm.
hadn't done that for a really long time. Getting out and involved in the kids' schools and being um, signing up for a gym membership and hiring a PT, and it was in the action that those decisions were made. Same as I was saying about the career, I had to try different things in order to know what it was not. So that was really the answer.
So now you are moving into creating something that you really ultimately are aligned with, the head, the
Mm,
heart, they're coming together.
yeah.
How did that come to fruition? What you're working on right now, because it
Mm,
lights you up. You are
yeah.
so good at it. But tell us, like, how did the pieces come together?
It wasn't at all, as I say, an epiphany. It was, interestingly, I found this person on Facebook who I thought was an amazing teacher who seemed to be living this life that I thought was amazing. And she was in the States and she was running a retreat. And so I reached out to her and I said, "Oh, I'd love to come along." Paid the money, hopped myself on a plane, off I went. It happened to be one of the worst experiences of my life in terms of the execution of the retreat itself. However, it put me around some people that thought bigger than I was thinking. And it exposed me to some pretty extraordinary people who were stuck in their careers. And I could see a bigger vision for them than they could see for themselves. And we started talking about that, and then talking about taking that expertise and turning it into a commercial platform outside of their the career that they'd been stuck in. And these people were mostly in the medical field and really looking to get out of that clinical life. And that was the moment. It was in that action, heading off to that retreat, meeting these exceptional women, that got me started, and they became my first clients. They're still great friends today. And again, it was not that I went into it saying, "Oh, well, what we're going to do is we're going to take these personal brands and we're going to turn them into these luxury brands." It was in working with these masterful first clients that I went, heck, we can't just be building out little funnels and passive income streams and little webinars and things. So these are exceptional people, and I want to put my time and effort into exceptional people and help them commercialize. So it was definitely seeing an opportunity in a moment and then opening my eyes to it and then taking that opportunity and running with it, that set me on this path. And I really have not looked back from there. It's just been momentum has built so beautifully after that. So it's been a great journey, really
So
fun.
let's have some fun here.
All right.
You are meeting with a client, and as
Hmm.
you said, you're not interested in the small stuff. You are like, go big, go home.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
just that's your client. Just like,
Yeah.
come on,
Hmm.
stop thinking small.
Yeah.
So you have this first conversation with them. And
Mm,
what are you really looking for down
mm,
deep in the person that you know, this is a person that I can help, that I can execute the long-term plan that you know you have, that
mm,
you're so gifted around coming up with.
mm.
What goes through your head? What lets you know, like, bing, bing,
Yeah.
bing, 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 that one?
Amazing. A lot of it's intuition, but if I had to give you the sort of tactical things, the checklist that I'm looking for, I'm looking for someone who is absolutely the best in the world at what they do. And without hesitation, they want to spend the rest of their life further mastering that craft, because that's what it takes to be, an icon. You can't just be static. You can't just rest on, I've got my MBA and I'm really good at blah, blah, blah. No, no, no. You've got to grow. People pay you to grow. And so you need to be the best at what you do. It doesn't have to be, I'm the best at personal development in the world. It can be a very small niche, but you are the best at it. There is no one that can touch you. And you're interested in continuing to grow that craft. The second thing that I'm looking for is a level of certainty around that. And it's funny, I've met so many people from so many different walks of life and so many different countries and cultures over time. I love particularly working with Americans because there's an innate sense of acceptance of your gift, and there's not a lot of humbleness that you know, it's nice. It's really nice to meet people who like to risk and have confidence and own who they are. I'm good at this, and I can get these outcomes. I love that. It's a little trickier when you've got a background like we do in Britain or Australia or New Zealand, where it's been beaten into us to be humble. And so I've got to work a little bit harder with people from those places to try and extract that from them,
Mhm.
and then get them to unlearn a lot of those cultural things that we've had beaten into us about dumbing ourselves down, watering ourselves down. Don't stand out too much. There's a thing in Australia we talk about, the tall poppy syndrome, which is, don't you dare stand out too much, because we'll cut you down to size. And so it's really important that I
The
can.
tall poppy syndrome. That's great.
Yeah, yeah, but it's so
Yeah.
true. So I have to work a bit harder,
Mm,
for those not from the States. But seeing that certainty and seeing that person really own it, not in an arrogant way, but
mm,
in a real like I have absolute deep certainty about where I'm going and what I'm doing. And really those two things in
mm,
combination with an ambition to there's a real ambition to impact the world. I do meet a lot of people who look at what I do and they're attracted to me because of the numbers. As we
mm,
talked about at the beginning of this conversation, those great big numbers are not interesting to me. They're just a great outcome that we're able to achieve with our clients because they have those two qualities that I was talking about at the beginning here. And that enables me to make them the one in their category and connect them to people who will pay them at that level.
mm.
It's not the number that I'm interested in, it's the impact. It's the what legacy do you really want to build? I know you're really interested in that as well, and the exploration of those conversations. That's what gets me interested, but you have to tick those couple of boxes first for me to be able to get to that legacy conversation, then the fun begins, right?
So I always think of you as cutting edge. I like to say that the relaunch brand is also, it's not the past that you're thinking about, it's
Yeah.
the future, it's where we're
Mm,
going. And when you think about your next relaunch, what's
mm.
going to be significant for you and where is Kathryn going?
Yeah. I'm really excited right now. You've caught me in a moment where we are relaunching our brand. And so you you really got to the quick of something that has attracted a lot of people to me over time, that I'm very respectful of them and would love to see them, have all sorts of success. But if you're just coming to me because you're interested in how we turn a $20,000 thing into $1 million thing, that's not that's not what I'm here for. And so we're rebranding under Become the Most Expensive, and moving outside of just personal brands to some other areas that we've had a lot of success with. For example, working with interior designers, and we've worked with financial planners, we've worked with service providers, consultants across defense and aerospace, and all sorts of interesting areas. So we're taking what we've been able to achieve so well with personal brands. That doesn't mean I'm not working with them. I'm going to continue to work there with the lead experts, but also again, thinking about impact. How
Hmm.
can we transition what we're doing there into other niches and other industries and other humans who are looking to impact the world in the most extraordinary way and build their legacy brand, so it becomes a heritage brand, so it becomes, this dominating force for many, many decades to come. So you've got me in this moment of relaunch and excitement and expansion and thinking big and innovation and growth. So I'm really
Hmm.
excited right now.
Well, it's so great. And so it leads in nicely to, if I were to say, I
Mhm.
am, I am,
Mhm.
finish that for who you are and where you're going.
I'm Kathryn Porritt, and I am really happy with who I am.
Oh, listen to what you just did.
Yeah, yeah,
Ending it with who I am.
yeah.
So, when you are now kind of going into this next phase, and we constantly talk
Mm,
about you're either growing or you're dying. I mean, that's the truth. You're
sure.
moving things forward.
Mm,
As we wrap up, a
mm,
message that you would like to say to people, because the world is indefinitely, it's tumultuous. Things, relaunches are happening globally,
mhm,
personally, professionally.
mhm.
What advice do you give people today when you think about success?
I think this moment in time is really exciting. It's changing daily, and there are opportunities opening up daily. What I'm seeing happen is that the middle of the market has disappeared, and you're either at the bottom or the top. You make a choice. And what's exciting to me about that is that you can no longer be in that mainstream middle where it was kind of mediocre and you could just kind of muddle your way along. You really need to make a choice. Am I a volume-based business with, really wanting to grow with a big fan base? Or am I someone who really wants to build something at the top end? And I would say, whatever you decide on either sides of those two things, you will have loads of opportunity right now. There are volume-based businesses that are taking over the world, like your Sheins and your Amazons and etc. I mean, you
Hmm.
could give you a million examples of that. If volume is your play, you are in the right place right now. Also, what a lot of people have not been exposed to, if they haven't grown up with money, is that there is a lot of expansion happening at the luxury end of town. And so I would say your opportunity is to open yourself up to the top end. And it's fun to play up here. It's a lot less competition. So I would say to anyone who's really looking to grow their business in this kind of economic and political environment, the world is your oyster right now. But I would pick between volume and premium and luxury. So top or bottom. Don't muddle around in the in between. That's not where your opportunity is. So plenty of opportunity, plenty of um, growth and expansion, and there's plenty of money on both ends of the market. So go ahead and have some fun. It's just the world is ripe right now.
Kathryn, this is so good. And where can people find you? Where can they hear more about what you're working on and the future?
The best place to go is to kathrynporritt.com. So that's spelt with a Y, so Kathryn, Porritt, Porritt. We like to confuse people with the spelling. Um,
Well, and we will also have it in the show notes, but I have enjoyed this so much. You have so much wisdom. And, wisdom comes with all of the hard knocks, the things, the choices, the wisdom along the way to, as you said, intuition and trusting it. And sometimes we don't. And it sends us into different areas. And we hope that we can cobble ourselves back to where we're supposed to be. And you have done such an amazing job with where you are, what you're creating, where you're going now with other markets within. So thank you for being here and sharing. And everybody out there listening, please go check out Kathryn Porritt. She is the person that, as she said, is if you want to own it, if you want to be that iconic presence in your industry, then let me tell you, she is your woman. So, anyway, super, super glad you came on the show today. Thank you again. And as we wrap up, I always like to say, you really have to live now. You have to love now. And that is so true with what we've been talking about, getting your head and your heart in unison, in alignment. And so, Kathryn, thank you. And I look forward to hearing all of the next adventures as you relaunch now into the next best version of Kathryn Porritt. Wait. as you launch in to the next best version of Kathryn Porritt.
Hilary, it has been such a pleasure. And if I may hijack this for a moment and just speak to your audience about the relaunch community and what Hilary and her team have built, and just really ask you to lean in. What Hilary is building here is for women who have a level of ambition and have achieved success and are on the pathway to creating their legacy and really thinking about their meaning in the world and creating a community of like minded women who are equally ambitious and successful and looking to have these deep conversations facilitated by someone who is so intelligent and so steeped in personal development, career advice, who's been there, done that and succeeded over and over and over again. I urge you to join Hilary's world. It is exceptional. I've enjoyed every moment of being a part of it. So thank you for letting me hijack there.
Kathryn, you can do that anytime. All right, everyone, thanks again for being here. And we look forward to another relaunch adventure when we tap back into this next week. Take care, everyone.